Sam's Crafty Castle. It has been a while. I just kind of got behind and needed a little time to play catch up, but we're back now, and hopefully we will be back for a little while. So, today we're revisiting an old favorite and doing a Kendra's card challenge. I was going through my stash trying to figure out what I was going to do. I've had this idea in mind. I don't remember if I've talked about it before since it's been a while. Of trying to do some kind of card making challenge video every month. And I thought, let's start with Kendra's card challenge because that's an old classic as far as I'm concerned at this point. Not really. We'll get more into that later. And not in September, but in October, I think. We'll get into some real old favorites of mine. But anyway, it was an easy place to start, so that's where I decided to start. And I was going through some stuff and noticed found these Gina K Designs stencil mates. And I thought that they are 6x6 sized, so I thought that would be kind of fun to play with and do with this challenge. It does not work super well, if I'm going to be entirely honest, but we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. But they are foilable. All of them are. The polyglaze ones are currently out of stock. Last time I looked, which I'll admit was a couple weeks ago because I forgot to check before I recorded this voiceover. But the polyglaze ones I think are out of stock, but the black and white ones I believe are still in. Like I said, I checked a couple weeks ago when I started working on this video before I needed to take my little break, and I don't remember now if they are, but hopefully they are. And they work with a variety of her different stencils. And they just kind of add an outline. So, if you have the foil polyglaze ones, you get kind of this sparkly foil, kind of shimmery, shiny foil kind of outline addition to your stencil. And then with the black and white ones, you can either use them as just black and white, or you can foil them. That's what I was going to say. And pair them up with your stencil. So I do shorten this up just because these videos are long anyway. I think this one ends up being 45 minutes. So I don't walk you through everything, but you kind of just got the basics of it. You foil it, you stencil over it, and that's that. The foiled ones I will wipe off with a paper towel after sometimes just to get any leftover ink off of the foily bits. And then this one I actually do, and I just use the black and white plain, but the black and white ones actually do foil as well. And what I ended up doing is after I did this one, I didn't like the way the lines got kind of lost, so after I did this one, I ended up actually foiling the rest of them with just black foil that I had, and it just made the lines a little thicker and made them stand out a little bit more. It's not a super noticeable difference, but I liked it better. And I've really been in a foiling phase again, a little bit, not as bad as some of my previous foiling phases, but just in the mood for foiling. Also, the other thing I wanted to mention, because I missed that at the beginning, earlier in the video at the very beginning, you saw me pull out my iPad, and I'm sure you've seen them if you've been watching other people's videos because they're quite popular these days, but they have those color cube things, right? Like those boxes with all the different color combinations in them. I have the electronic version, and I keep it saved on my iPad. And I know a lot of people like to do kind of a random color challenge, if you will, with those, where they just reach in and pull out a card, and a lot of people suggest getting the boxes for that reason, if that's something that you think interests you. I don't have the space to store the boxes. That's not entirely true. I probably do. But honestly, I think if I had the physical boxes, I would put them somewhere and then essentially forget they existed. With having the electronic versions on my iPad, it's just a little bit easier for me to reach for them and kind of grab them. And I've been using them for a couple months now. And I also like that she has the two or three, whatever, there's multiples of them, a couple companion books to them, if you will, that have the Copic, Prismacolor, and Tombow, which are the ones that I have, because those are the three sort of coloring mediums that I use a lot of, that match, which is really nice when you're doing coloring things. So what I did before I started this video was, and here's all the finished ones, I also used some white polyglaze sheets to get the negatives because I was starting to realize that this might not work out very well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to finish talking about the colors thing first. So I just go to this website called random.org. There are 500 different color palettes. I type in, give me a random number between 1 and 500, and then it spits out a number for me. I go look up that, and then that's where I go. I'll admit I'm kind of bad at sticking to them. Even like halfway through doing this, I was like, I feel like my colors are really off, especially when I started to like look at adding things to it, like when I started picking out like other papers and stuff, and I'd like look back at it and I'd be like, Ma, I'm really off here. So like I don't always stick to them very well, but it's worth a shot. And it does help me branch out. I tend to fall into the same patterns of the same colors all the time, and that's part of where like this comes from, is like all of a sudden I realized I was falling back into like my old color habits and not really using the color palette I had picked. So I'm trying to be branch out a little bit with my colors and color choices and things like that. So it's working, it's helping. Like I said, I still tend to fall into those old patterns, but it's definitely making a difference. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why these stencil mates don't necessarily work as well as I hoped for this challenge. Which I guess I should say I've kind of realized it halfway through filming. I was like, oh wait, this isn't going to actually work the way that I want it to. And basically it's because, yes, the paper is 6x6, but the design is about 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. You've got a little, like a 1/4 inch, like, edge. And that, you get that edge a lot once you start cutting up pieces. So that's where I decided to add these, like, gold foiled polyglaze sheets. So I just had the white polyglaze sheets, and I used the negative from the stencil mates to basically get the reverse image, so you had gold and white. And what I started to do is, as I was cutting these up, if I cut off a piece and I noticed that I didn't think it was going to, and also you can see like I over stenciled and got extra ink everywhere, and there's one card at the end that I just couldn't take the extra ink off of it, and I was just like, I'll just make it work. Like, I'll shorten things where I need to and adjust. And I did that for the most part. Like I said, there was only one card at the end that was just like, I can't get rid of the extra ink that I had on the end. So if I was smart, I would have like used masking magic or something, but I wasn't. And yeah, I just had to make it work. But I used those gold pieces then to, like, if I cut a piece and was like, this might not work, or there's too much white space, or there's only like this like tiny little bit of the design on it, I would go and cut the same thing from the gold pieces, and then I would make a decision in the moment. There were a few that I knew like right away weren't gonna work, so then those ones, like, I just cut the gold piece and got rid of the other stenciled piece, I guess. But there were also several that I just wasn't sure if it would work or not, because once again, in typical me fashion, I did not look ahead at any of the sketches to see what was coming. So I was just like, if I think it's going to work, or if I'm questioning it, then I would add the extra piece so I had it. And then I did actually end up with some of the gold polyglaze left over, so it worked out well in terms of that. If I found places throughout the rest of the sketches that the colors I had, or the pieces I had cut, weren't working, I was really able to easily just like cut a new one. Or in one case I lost one. I lost a piece, and I think at the very end I figured out I put it in the wrong bag. It should have gone in bag number like 3, and I put it in like bag 15 or something. But by that point I had already like figured out it was missing and cut a new one, so I'd already handled it. But you know what? It happens. I have a really good blooper coming up in not my next video, but the video after that. But, mistakes happen sometimes. So while I finish cutting these up, because we haven't had this topic discussion yet today. Kendra's card challenge. I don't have the paper in front of me, so I'm not going to make you sit through the actual, like, written directions from Kendra. I'm going to give you my version of them, which we've done this a few times on the channel now, so most of you who've been around for a while probably know know how this works, but for those of you who may be new, Kendra's Card Challenge is a quarterly challenge, which means it runs for 3 months. So this Kendra's Card Challenge 14 that I am doing right now was July, August, and September. So when you're watching this, it should be August 31st. So you still have a month left to play with this particular challenge if you want. But then October 1st, we'll start another one. And, you can play with that one too if you want. She does have a Facebook group, which will be linked down in the description below, and all of the information goes up there. She also has a website, which I should link in the description below as well, and you can get all the information there on how to enter to win prizes. I don't usually enter mine to win prizes these days, but you absolutely can do that. And through her Facebook group, you just upload everything to the albums. But basically, the idea of this challenge is you take 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper, and she gives you a cutting guide, which you'll find in the challenge PDF. And you follow the directions to cut up all the 6 pieces of pattern paper, and then you end up with 15 cards at the end with 15 different sketches. And for me, I like using, because there's another reason I chose to do this challenge as sort of this monthly challenge week that I'm trying to do, and that is that I happened to look in my stash in July, and realized that I had all of 2 birthday cards, and that wasn't enough to even get me through July, June, whatever month it was that I was looking. And because I thought I had some birthday cards, and I went to send one to someone, and then realized that I had none. So I was like, that's not gonna fly. And then I was like, oh, I know. I need to quickly build up my birthday stash. And the easiest way to do that is to do a Kendra's Card Challenge and just do all birthday cards. So that's I like to use it as a stash builder if there's something I'm really missing. If it's, Christmas time and I'm trying to do Christmas cards. I did 2 Christmas themed Kendra's Card Challenges in the past year and a half or so, and ended up with enough Christmas cards to get me through all of last year and this year. So I don't really have to touch Christmas until next year, which is kind of nice. I'm actually sitting here thinking, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, maybe I should just start writing and addressing my Christmas cards now, since technically they're done. And it's almost September. It basically is September by the time you're watching this, because it's the last day of August. And we're heading into fall holiday season and all of that. I'm more excited because September means Crop and Create month. I don't know. I guess speaking of that, I don't know if I'm going to do vlogs or not. I haven't decided. I actually have some family coming to do Crop and Create with me this year, and I haven't decided if I want to vlog it or if I just want to enjoy it. I know a few people have told me that they really like the vlogs, and I do like them, but part of me also just wants to hang out with my family that's coming and just enjoy it. So I don't know. It also depends on them as well too, because obviously I'm not gonna vlog if they're not comfortable with it. But so I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with that just yet. And now that I'm caught up and almost a little ahead on videos, I'm not looking to fill October with videos, because I'll have some filmed for that already, and then I forgot to turn my phone off, so there's your blooper for this video. Now it's off. So yeah, I don't know. There's all the things to think about, and decide coming up. I'm still cutting paper. We're almost done though. Yeah, that's the last one, I think, because the other thing I'll say about this Kendra's Card Challenge in particular is that yes, this is the last one, is that I thought that I was not going to like the very last card, sketch 15. Like, once I looked at it, I was kind of like, meh. But actually, I ended up really liking it, and it ended up being one of my favorite cards from this whole thing, actually. And so I'm just having, this one had the special directions to cut out a circle, which there is a story about this. So remember that I did this. So when I get to the end and tell you the story, it'll be interesting, I guess. But yeah, I kind of, there's a story with that circle there. All right, so there we go. Last card. Yep, see there, right in that 15. That little piece there. That's the part I needed for like card 3, and I couldn't find it. All right, so now we're getting into the fun of putting them all together. All of the sketches will be down in the corner, so you can kind of follow along. I've pre-cut everything. You guys have probably noticed I've been kind of getting in the habit of doing that with a lot of my videos. It just speeds everything up. I'm very indecisive, and editing these when I'm being indecisive can be kind of a pain in the butt. So I have been trying to like make all of my decisions and just edit them out so that, or not film that, and have everything ready to go. So a lot of it is just whatever the technique is and then putting it together. So in this case, it's a lot of just putting it together. I am, for one, with the Kendra's card challenges, don't tend to get super technique heavy. You obviously can. See, I don't know if I like that still. I feel like that gets kind of lost. But I think here we're going to see my first, like, no, because my card base is just wrong on this one. My card bases are very often cut a little bit wonky, and so things stick off the end. There we go. We're going to trim that off so that it is correct. I'm pretty sure it's the card base that's wonky. I know I checked because I was confused why it wasn't working, and it was because the card base was wonky. But so this one I didn't trim off the extra little white pieces because I didn't need to. They were fine. And we're just going to stick it together. And this one's pretty easy. This one really in general, because I tried to film one of these. I don't think it was 13. I think it was 12. I'm really not 100% sure now. And I took one look at all the sketches and how to cut the paper and went, no. It was way too much for me. But I don't like cutting like banners, and I don't like doing diagonal cuts. So if it's too many banners and too many diagonal cuts, no thank you. There were a few in this one that were diagonal cuts, but just personal preferences. They're not all going to be winners for every person. Speaking of crop and create too, that little trinket tray thing, whatever you want to call it, is lovely. It's become my little garbage bowl while I'm working. And then the little bit, I don't know if I actually show it in the video or not, but, or if you can really see it, I guess, but I will end up using that to like put out all my little pieces and stuff that I'm pulling from for this challenge. So this is sketch number 2. This one, it comes out a little bit wonky because, fun fact about me, I am not really good when it comes to like doing measurements and cutting things. So my little strips are a little bit off, and also this is the first time that I cut the edges off. There was a lot of extra ink and whatever on the edges, and it was messy, so I had to cut the edges off. So some of them lined up a little bit funky because some of them I cut off the edges and some of them I didn't. Why did I not think to like make them all even? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But it all works out in the end. And then I had this fun little flower that I add to my greeting. My one of my ink pads is also stamping really bad, and I can't figure out why. And I don't know what's happening to it basically. So I'm trying to figure that out right now. I think it might be a paper issue. I think it may just not like the paper that I'm using. But I haven't tried it with a different paper yet. So I don't know. We'll figure that one out. Or someone who knows more things than I do, tell me if this is correct or if I'm way miles and miles off base here. But Would an ink stamp really light if I over inked it? Because that feels backwards to me. But that's what's happening. I kind of re-ink this one ink pad a lot, just because I like me a juicy ink pad. And actually, it's my ink cube. My ink pad is fine. My ink cube is just acting up. And part of me is also wondering if I at one point grabbed the wrong color, and that's why it's not working. So I'm also just debating getting a new one. But I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I will. I'll keep working on it. Except for the fact that I forget, and every time I pull it out to use it, and it doesn't work, and I'm like, oh, oops. Forgot that was broken. I just used it the other day, because I forgot that it was kind of weird. But I used it on the same cardstock that I was using here, which I wasn't supposed to do. I was supposed to try it on a different cardstock, and I didn't, so I need to fix that. I do like this layout, though. It's really cute. There's a lot of really nice... You guys know, I'm not good at making card layouts, designing my own card layouts. Not good at it. It is not a strong suit for me. So I very much enjoy sketch challenges and just sketches in general, because it makes things a lot easier for me. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. We're going to have some fun with rub-ons for this card. See, these are really easy. Like I said, I don't get super technique heavy and anything, so I'm kind of just finding things to talk about. You can see where I added my little ephemera pile to my little tray there, just to make it easy. I went through my stash and found some ephemera that I had that I thought would be match color-wise mostly. I don't use most of it, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it's there in case I want it. And I'm just using, these are rub-ons that I got from last year's Scrap and Create. And I really liked this big flower, and I thought it would be fun to use on this. And this layout didn't come out quite how I planned it to. Why I didn't run that through my intercut now that I'm like watching this back and went with the old school popsicle method. Like, I should have just run it through my intercut, but it works, right? Either way it works. And this one didn't want to like work quite the way I wanted it to. The flower didn't want to be at the right angle, and then I didn't have a stamp that fit like in the spot the flower left, and it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And I figured it out in the end. It works out just fine in the end, but it was a little bit more of a frustrating one. And this, because you can't really see it on the sketch there in the corner, because you'll see there's an oval and I used a circle. General rule of sketch challenges, you can mix and match shapes as much as you want. I think this one even says any shape on it. And the circle just fit better with my flower that I wanted to use, so we did a circle. See, I don't like that it's centered still. That just wasn't the vibes, but it's okay. Worked out in the end. Like I said, it actually is kind of nice. Someone will enjoy getting that. Okay, sketch number 4. See, we're just cruising around along. We've got a ways to go, but we're about halfway through the video now. This is one of my other least favorite things, when there's two pieces that have to line up next to each other. I just have a really hard time with it for whatever reason. I don't really know why, I just do. And yeah, see, a lot of these are really simple, and I don't know what to talk about today. We've already talked about Crop and Create a little bit. That was on my list of things to talk about, which we did. And yeah, I don't know. What else is there to talk about? We went through kind of the rules of Kendra's card challenge a little bit, and the premise. That was also on my list of things. Oh, my sticker maker. I was going to talk about that. So, I am using the Allison's Ribbons dies. It's a very old die. It's very long ago discontinued. I want someone to make a new one. If anyone out there is listening, someone make something similar to this that is new, because I do really, really like this. I guess there are similar things out there now that I think about it, but nothing that's like I don't want to say exactly the same, but nothing nothing that's filling that hole, I guess. Currently. But I really like that one, and I use my sticker maker for that all the time because it's just easier. Those are little pieces, and getting the glue on the back is much easier with your sticker maker. So don't like sleep on your sticker makers, guys, because I know I did. I tend to sleep on mine, but always fun to rediscover something, I should say, in your craft stash. I've been doing a lot of that lately, kind of pulling out some different stuff that I kind of tend to just ignore. Um, I want to pull out my hot foil stuff, but for as much laminator foiling as I do, the hot foil stuff still kind of is difficult for me. So, but I have a couple hot foil dies that I want to use, or hot foil plates, I should say, that I want to use. So, I really need to do that. And I had them out this weekend when I'm filming this, which is not when it's just like 2 weeks before that you're watching it. I had everything pulled out this weekend and then went, no, and put it all back. So I really need to like follow through on that. This is the one where I think, this is the one where like the things were weird. No, it wasn't this one. It was a different one. I think we might have missed it already. My weird flag one. But yeah, you can see like that's a little questionable. But putting the gold in didn't work either, so I just left it the way it is. That card reminds me of the Lion King, honestly, with the yellow and the red, and it gives me very Circle of Life, beginning of the movie vibes. Did anyone else feel that way? This is the best one with the sunspots stencil because it shows the most of it and it just looks kind of cool. And this one actually comes out really well. I think despite my weird die cutting there, that was kind of rough, wasn't it? And then I glued things down that I wasn't supposed to glue down because I wasn't paying attention. So, it's Outrunners, man. They let you pull things up. They give you a little bit of time to adjust if you need to. And it's very handy. But, so there's that one. I lost track of what number we were on. We're on number 7, so we're halfway through now officially. More than halfway through the video, but halfway through the cards. And this one has a really stripy too. There's a lot of really stripy ones this time. And I don't really, this is kind of one of those like lessons, and sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. And this is no fault of like Kendra's at all, because it's not her challenge, it's my not great pattern picking out skills. I was so excited to try this with the stencil mates because it's been something that I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. And I didn't hit it out of the park with this one, with that combination. I just didn't. Another thing that I like really did differently this time too, not differently, but just like something I noticed is I've been pulling out a lot more things, I guess, when I do these challenges. So like those scallop circles, I have the dies for them. I don't use them very often. I tend to just like, when I'm just making cards on my own, I tend to sort of like stick to the same old like plain shapes and things like that. I've gotten a little bit better about like pulling out my like stitched rectangles and stuff from time to time, but I tend to avoid a lot of my other sort of like decorative edge, I guess, kind of things. And even like using this card, this sketch specifically asked for, I mean, it asked for a scallop circle too, honestly, but it also asked for like the decorative edge thing on the bottom. And I have a couple like decorative edge dies that I've accumulated from various things over the years. And like I don't use them very often. So I really like when she does stuff like that. Or like there's some, I don't remember. There is one in here. I think I already did that one. or is it this one? Maybe, I don't know. There's one where it doesn't show up well on camera, but it asks for, no, it's this one. Haha, timing. Where it asks for like something in the background, so like a die or a stencil, embossing folder. Like some of her sketches will ask for something like that, and like my embossing folders, they don't get enough of a workout. And I actually just used one last weekend on a different video, but like I don't pull them out as often as I should. Some of my like background dies, I don't pull them out as often as I should, and this is the one, another thing I really like about this challenge is that it does stuff like that, and all of a sudden I go, why am I not using this? Or just gets me to think outside the box a little bit. So like you really can't see the die on this one, honestly. You can kind of see it, but it is a stitched like background die from Concord and Ninth, and it's really pretty, and I really like it. And I'm like, I gotta get better about using some of this this stuff. Not just because I have it, but because like I actually do really like it. Um, I've been working through my stash of stuff that I haven't used, and some of it's going, some of it I'm looking at now and going, pulling it out and being like, okay, I kind of outgrew this in the time that it took me to use it, or yeah, I bought this because I thought it was cool at the time, but like it doesn't speak to me anymore. So I've been adding a lot of stuff to my D-stash box lately, and that'll just happen. Your style changes. Sometimes it changes a little quicker than you have time to use things. Um, but yeah, yeah, we all have that problem though. It's not just a me issue. I know it's not because I've talked to a lot of people. There you go. Now you can see the background a lot better. But I really like that. It's really subtle. It's really pretty. It adds something, and I just gotta get better about using things like that. I tend to stick to a lot of, even with my pattern paper in general, which I haven't talked about it in this video, but I've mentioned before with Kendra's card challenges, or even the sheet load of card challenges, that like I like that it not forces me, but pushes me to use some of my pattern papers and the like, because I tend to not use them. And it's not even like so I know some people use them because they're like, oh, I really like them and I don't want to use them up. I just don't use them. I just tend to go for like solid colors all the time. And this is kind of a way that I sort of like push myself to try to use them. And you can tell because that's why my pattern selecting skills are not always the best with these challenges, and I tend to do them very randomly. I tend to just go, oh, I like this one, I like this paper, I like this paper, and that's how I pick them. I try to stick to a color theme usually, but they tend to be very random, and sometimes they don't always work very well together. So we're gonna keep working on that. And yeah, we're gonna see. I keep stopping and starting this recording, so the audio's a little bit wonky this time, not gonna lie. And then, yeah, this is almost all stuff. That wishes stamp is just something I've had in my stash forever, and it was time to bust it out and use it. So, yeah, just always trying to find ways to use the things that I haven't used yet. Okay, next one. Oh, this one doesn't have a... Oh, there it is. I was like, the sketch didn't come up. Just a little late. So, this one is kind of fun too. It has the weird... Not the weird. That's not the right word. It has the kind of like gluing two pieces next to each other thing again that I'm not always the biggest fan of. But it works out in the end. I also really like that I kind of used the purple, which is edible eggplant from GNK Designs, because that was the ink I used. So I matched, and I had the cardstock for it, so I matched. But I'm years ago, like years and years and years, like a really, really long time ago, Gina had mentioned that a lot of times she likes to use her edible eggplant as like the neutral color in her cards, and I sort of took that advice and decided to try it with this set, and I actually really like it, and it's a little softer, I guess, than using like black. You could also go with like a dark brown, but like the purple adds a little something, and since I had the purple from the stencil mate in a couple places, I was just like, yeah, that makes sense, and I really liked it. So kind of just a little extra tip for you. See, these videos are hard sometimes because I have trouble talking about things for 40 minutes. So the voiceovers get a little rambly sometimes. But, and again, using up those foil things that I have because I have so many of them. But, yeah. Okay. This one almost is a lot like the first one. Color-wise, I guess, I did something similar. Now we're getting to the end. So, like, when I get to the end of these challenges, I usually have a lot of, like, scrap pieces left over, right? That I've been die cutting out of and all of that kind of fun stuff. And I tried to make sure I don't have too many scrap pieces left, or, like, yeah, like too many scrap pieces left over. That was the right phrase. And so, like, I'll start reusing stuff a lot. So, like, I had a couple pieces that I had, like, die cut the happy birthday out of on the first card. So I had those same colors and just decided to die cut them the same way on this one. Even though I didn't really like that so much on the first card, but I did it again because that was the paper I had out. And I get to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to pull out any extras. So that's why you get a lot of the same colors in these. But I really like this too, where she did the strips. Like, in my brain when I was first looking at the sketch, I thought it was going to be like a whole rectangle underneath, like a normal matte layer, basically. But it wasn't. It was the little strips, and I thought that was really smart. And I'm going to switch that out because that does not work at all. But I thought that was a really good idea to use little strips. I don't like cutting them, though. That's the one thing. But I do have a couple dies that would cut them for me. They're just buried in that box of things. So, yeah. And then more little strippies, which I really like. And I really like the gold on that, too. I'm glad I went with the gold instead of... Even though it was cool that they both had the purple, the gold really adds something. So, the other thing that I think is important to remember, not important, but the other thing to remember, I guess, with these challenges is that, especially this one, is even though you have the cutting templates to, like, cut up all the paper, you can absolutely take it, like, one sketch at a time, too. So, all of the sketches have the individual measurements for each piece on that sketch, even if it is one of the pieces that you cut in the 6x6 thing at the beginning. So, like, you could absolutely just, like, do the sketch by itself if you didn't want to make all 15 cards. I've been saving these. I mean, I've been saving them electronically because I don't really like having a ton of, like, paper and stuff. That's funny. But I don't like having a bunch of just, like, stuff around. And I'm more likely to pull it up electronically than I am to grab out a book and look through it, is what I'm getting at. See, these ones, this goes really fast from here because these last couple cards are pretty simple. And honestly, I think that they are some of the best ones, too. This one's a little busy, I'll admit, and it's another one with the pieces that I don't like to lay out, that I don't really like. I have a really hard time spacing them nice and evenly, not my strong suit. And I didn't actually end up cutting off the extra white bits on this one because I kind of liked it since I was using those two pieces as the top and the bottom. And then I also glued that one on really crooked, and it's kind of bothering me really bad now. The top one up there is very crooked. But that's okay. And yeah, so this one again is that I also, okay, I have to tell you the story about the circles. This is where the story about the circles matters. So, earlier in the video, you saw me cut a circle out of that one card panel, which is you're gonna see that again in a minute because it's card 15. So, it was a 3.5 inch circle that I was supposed to cut out of there. And I did. No problem. I get to this card, and I have to cut out a 3.5 inch circle to be that purple piece, like this. You can't see me. I'm pointing at it. You can't see me. But to be the bigger circle, it's supposed to be like a 3.5 inch circle. I look everywhere. I cannot find the circle die. I have no idea where my 3.5 inch circle die went. I did actually end up finding it. I mean, I filmed this video I filmed this video in July, but I finally found it like last week. It was the really embarrassing part is it wasn't where it was supposed to be the whole time. Like, it wasn't like I had put it away. But I had, in fact, put it in, like, I have one of those magnetic bowls on my desk. And it was in there the whole time. Because sometimes, like, especially when I'm doing a card challenge like this or something, or if I'm, like, batch filming a bunch of videos, instead of taking the time to, like, clean up in between each thing, I will just, like, throw all the dies in that magnetic bowl and then, like, put them away later, basically. And that's what I was doing with this, because I was getting near the end and I was trying to finish it up, because I wanted to actually have this out at the end of July, but that didn't happen. So I was trying to finish this up, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to, like, throw everything in this bowl. It was in there the whole time, but it had laid flat in the bowl. Like, usually I'll put them up against the side so that I can kind of, like, see they're in there, like, at a glance. But it had laid flat on the bottom of the bowl, and it was there the whole time. And then I was really annoyed, because when I get to the next card, I will tell you, or show you kind of what I had to do to fix that, because it didn't really work out the way it was supposed to. This one real quick, because I'm finishing this one up right now. This one was really fun. I really liked doing the pattern with the squares. My squares are a little bit funky, again, just because of the decisions I made with using the pattern paper I did. But now, honestly, that I'm looking at it again, I'm not as disappointed in it as I was at first. I didn't, the sort of extra edging on the purple pieces kind of really bothered me at first, but now it doesn't really bother me at all. Okay, back to the circle story now. So, I had to cut out the scalloped piece, right? So I had my scallop circle, and then I needed my, like, 3.5 inch circle to go in the middle so that the curve matched, right? Could not find it. It was missing. No idea what I did with it. So I ended up using a slightly larger circle. I don't remember actually what size it was anymore, and just made the neckline basically a little bit lower. And it's a little less modest than it was maybe intended to be, but honestly it still works. And I just made the neckline a little bit lower, and then trimmed off the extra bits of the shirt, and it all worked out in the end. And then same thing, my circle ended up being a little bit, I didn't cut it perfectly in half, so I had to trim a little bit off the edges, but it all worked out in the end. And I, admittedly, when I got to this sketch and was looking at it, I was kind of like, I don't like this one. But now that it's done, like, after I finish it, I put way too many buttons on it, by the way, but I was using such tiny little sticky gem things that I put a lot of buttons on it, and I don't really like that. I was debating between using, like, a sticky thing like I did, or I do have a set of dies that cuts buttons, or I do have a bag of buttons in my craft room as well from other things I've done. And I thought about all of those things, but decided to go with the sticky jewel things, because I've been kind of on a mission to try and use some of those up, because I have a lot of them and I don't use them very often. And then I was going to use pearls to make my necklace, but again, same kind of thing. Rather than, I was going to use just, like, not sticky ones and, like, glue them down. But again, I had these sticky ones, and I was kind of like, and this pink matched fairly well. But you'll see that I am, talk about things that are frustrating. I am one little pearl too short to be able to deal with my sort of weird neckline situation. I think I would have been fine if I would have had the right size circle, if I would have been able to find that die, but I couldn't. So this is what happens. So basically all I did is I just scooched the necklace up a little bit, so it's just, the necklace just isn't as long. And it's still a little bit wonky, if I'm being entirely honest. It's still a little rough around the edges, but I was able to just kind of scooch all the little pearls up and make the necklace a little bit shorter. It's also very not even, but it's fine. You get it still works. It's all good. But yeah, this ended up being actually one of my favorite ones when I was done. So that's always nice to have a surprise like that. That pattern, I kind of want a shirt with that pattern on it, I'm not gonna lie. So here's all the cards. You don't get a very good view of all of them on the video, so I will definitely have these posted on Instagram, so you can go ahead, and my Instagram should pop up in just a second here. and you can go ahead and look at them there and get a better view of them. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this really long video, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.